Welcome to Next Generation TV. I'm Alan West. Though the American people in general are very supportive of the state of Israel, the American university is another issue entirely. Unfortunately, our college campuses have become the hotbed of anti-Semitism and anti-Israeli activity in our country. Who can forget this exchange a few years ago between David Horowitz and a member of the Muslim Students Association at UC San Diego?
I'm a Jew. The head of Hezbollah has said that he hopes that we will gather in Israel so he doesn't have to hunt us down globally. For it or against it?
For it.
Thank you.
Unbelievable. And also, remember, a dear friend of mine, Israeli Ambassador Michael Oren, tried to give a speech at UC Irvine.
It is a source of frustration that as a person who spent much of his life speaking Hebrew...
Michael Oren! Propagating murder is not an expression of free speech!
Shut up!
And then later I met the foreign minister of Israel. Those of you who know him.
So what is going on here? Joining me to try to make sense of this is Lee Kaplan, an investigative journalist and executive director at DAFCA, an organization that combats Palestinian propaganda on our university campuses. Lee, thanks so much for joining us.
My pleasure.
What are your thoughts on what we saw that student, member of the Muslim Student Association at the University of San Diego, endorsing the genocide of the Jewish people?
What you have on the campuses today is what I call the intellectualization of anti-Semitism. You have a situation where the Muslim world, and particularly the Arab Muslim world, but also the Iranians, what they've done is they've created a RICO-style situation to spread the culture that they have in the Middle East here within the United States. Now, what I mean by RICO is it's usually considered something that's used for prostitution or drugs across state lines. But what you have is a situation, most of it which was funded by the Saudis, but now the Iranians are getting in the act, where they've literally infiltrated the United States through our college campuses. And they do this through the Students for Justice in Palestine groups on the campuses and the Muslim Students Association. Now, you're showing a picture there at San Francisco State, for example. The San Francisco State Student Union actually has a PLO office in the student union, and it's been there for like close to 20 years. They don't allow, for example, an office by the Jewish students in the student union. On the side of the building, there's a Palestinian mural of Edward Said.
When I think of these specific examples, you know, I bring to case in point at Florida Atlantic University, because I do reside down in South Florida. We had a Palestinian group that actually got official eviction notices from an administrative official there, and they went around to the rooms of Jewish students and they put these eviction notices on their dorm rooms. I mean, how are we allowing the administrations, and what are the other examples of this, not just in California, not just in South Florida, where we also have a problem at the University of South Florida, but what are the other examples across this country that you're seeing?
For example, you showed the near riot they had at UC Irvine when Ambassador Oren tried to speak. I actually went undercover at a conference at San Diego State given by Al-Aada, which is the Palestine Right of Return Coalition, which is involved with this on the campuses also. And they had a student leader there from UC San Diego, Lena Hoffman, who actually talked about doing exactly what took place a week later at UC Irvine. What they did was they said that they were going to take over the campuses and make it so Jews and Israeli, pro-Israeli groups wouldn't be allowed to even speak on campuses. And that's one of the things that is going on today is you have this conspiratorial organized movement, which is being led through the college campuses. And unfortunately, the administrators at the colleges, they're usually pusillanimous when it comes to something like this. They don't want to make waves. They get money from Saudi donations, sometimes from Iranian donations. Mm-hmm. They don't want to risk losing the money. And another thing they do also is they allow, well, I wouldn't say allow is the word, but what they do is they've actually infiltrated into the administrations of the colleges.
But why has this happened in the United States of America? What has changed that we have allowed our universities to no longer be centers of free speech and free thought, that they have become, ideological, centerpieces, especially when you see this anti-Semitism that is happening all across this country on those campuses?
Well, I can tell you what's happened is, one, as I mentioned before, it's a question of money. They get donations from the Saudis and the Gulf sheiks. They also get money from Iran. That's part of what's going on. The other issue is the question of race. The movements on the campuses, the MSA and the Students for Justice in Palestine, they have picked up on the theme of trying to claim that they are being racially oppressed and persecuted. And that is the main bugaboo in colleges all across the West in the United States and in Canada, even inside Israel, which is a democracy also, of course. So when you use the word racism and you accuse Israel and America and Jews of being racists against the Arabs, who lately more and more are trying to claim that they're people of color, then you have a perfect atmosphere to promote what they're promoting. And they're promoting racism themselves is what they're doing.
It is unconscionable that you would try to, frame this as being racist, because you're talking about a faith. I mean, Muslim is a faith. It's a belief system. It has nothing to do with any particular race. I mean, you can be black, white, Asian, Hispanic, whatever, and, agree with that thought process. But let's delve into something that I think is going to be real important here to discuss. Mostly we see our universities as being more left-wing and leaning into, a liberal progressive ideology. Is there some type of collusion that you believe between left-wing politics and this anti-Semitism that's occurring on our college campuses?
Oh, absolutely. The fact is that a lot of the leftist organizations, the ones that are communist-oriented, not in our name, International Answer, these other groups, which also use the colleges as a liberal base from which to operate. What they've done is they've allied themselves with these Muslim organizations, and Jews are the glue which keeps the alliance together. In other words, to the Muslims, anti-Semitism and Jew hatred is based on the Quran and culture in the Middle East, which they've exported over here. Among those who are wannabe revolutionaries and Marxists or Maoists, what they do is they're communist oriented, and they regard the Jews as the rich capitalists. And at the same time that they regard the Jews as the rich capitalists, they also join with the Muslims. The Jews are the glue that help put these two groups together. The Muslims provide oil money, which helps fuel the communist movements, which were pretty much defunct after the fall of the Soviet Union. And the Muslim groups actually derive a lot of organizational abilities and propaganda from the communist groups, like International Answer. So this is the situation on our campuses.
It's amazing because I have a daughter who's a sophomore in college, and this is definitely one of the concerns I have. So what are the type of things that you're doing to fight back against this anti-Israel propaganda? And then also, what are some of the broader things that others can do, myself as a parent or other groups, to get engaged and maybe, help this to be somewhat subsided?
What I've done over the last 8 years, and I'm kind of known for this, is I've gone undercover at their organizational meetings and conferences, and I've brought out information about what they do. Right now, I'm producing an article, and I've got a series of articles about a gal named Anna Balser, who's the head of the U.S. campaign against the Israeli occupation and who leads the boycott movement against Israel on the college campuses. And I've just come out with proof that she's a fraud. In other words, that she claims she has an academic background she doesn't have, and she claims that, she has links to the Holocaust, which she doesn't have. And basically, she goes into the campuses, and she also goes to churches, And she lectures people that the Israelis are committing all kinds of atrocities against the Arabs. Again, here you get into this idea of fighting oppression. The Palestinians are supposedly oppressed by the occupation, and the Israelis are doing Nazi-type atrocities against the Arabs. None of it's true. And in my article, I show that she's lying about that. Now, how does that help fight this? Well, she's been speaking at well over 500 venues since she started in 2005. And I think once my article breaks, my latest article breaks, she'll find it harder to get places to speak on the campuses. Yeah. And hopefully people will also object to her speaking on the campuses. Because right now what happens is they will let these people speak on the campus claiming it's freedom of speech or academic freedom. And it's anything but.
Real quickly, how can we make sure that we mainstream what you're doing and what you're uncovering?
Well, that's the $64,000 question. I mean, I don't know how to mainstream it because, to be honest, Alan, even among Jewish organizations in the United States that say they fight anti-Semitism, they don't have a clue how to combat this. And, as long as the other side, which actually promotes war on the Jews and war on the democracies like America, as long as they keep saying that they are peace activists or human rights workers, which nobody in the media seems to question enough, they're able to keep pulling this off, and they're able to have these indoctrination sessions in the classrooms and in the campuses, and now it's even in the churches.
Well, there is no doubt that this is an example of what people have been calling the soft jihad. And we want to thank you so much, Lee, for being here with us and for shedding the light on this very important issue.
Thank you.
And please check out Lee's work at stoptheism.com and also at dafka.org. For Next Generation Today, I'm Alan West, and thanks for watching.